Hey everyone, welcome to episode 22 of Branded by Amazing. I'm Mike McClary. I'm the Chief Product Officer at Amazing.com. And today is Tuesday, December 28th, and we have a very special guest for you. We have Destaney Wishon from Better AMS to talk about all things Amazon advertising. So welcome to the podcast, Destaney.
Thank you so much for having me, Mike. Super excited to be here.
Yeah, same here. I'm glad we got a chance to finally coordinate this. I know it's been a really busy time. Here we are, finally over with Q4 of the crazy Amazon advertising rush. So it kind of worked out well for both of us, I think.
Yeah, it's been insane. I'm really glad we were able to turn something around right after Christmas as well.
No, you're right. So tell me, tell the listeners actually a little bit about yourself, like exactly what you're doing and how you got involved in being like one of the premier Amazon advertising experts.
Yeah, so I have been doing Amazon advertising for, I think, going on almost 5 years now, which is really funny. You asked us about our name, Better AMS. So everyone who's been in the space for a really long time knows that Amazon had a advertising platform that was a little bit different than what you're used to seeing now in an advertising console. And it was AMS, Amazon Marketing Services. So I got started in Bentonville, Arkansas, the home of Walmart, working for a lot of vendors in the space. And I kind of got thrown in trial by fire, learned really, really quickly. And, I don't know anything else at this point. So there's no backing out now.
So how many people do you work with on your team right now? Is it a small company, big company?
I think we're like 23.
Okay.
23 people, including like our dev team and our full like account executive team.
Okay, awesome. So that's a good sized team though. I mean, it's not easy managing teams like this. You guys get great kudos from lots of people. And I think you primarily focus on bigger clients. Is that right?
For the most part, yeah. We typically only work with brands that are doing at least $100,000-$200,000 a month, with our biggest brands doing upwards of 26 million a month.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Okay. So you have a wide breadth of clients there. Tell me a little bit then. I know this has been a crazy, I was going to say crazy year, but now it's about crazy 2 years. We seems to be the pandemic that will never end. What have you seen that's changed the most in the past year or so with advertising on Amazon?
Almost everything. So I think there's two really big variables that have made it a lot more complex. One, just Amazon advertising externally. I think more brands are adopting ads than ever before. So you're seeing a lot more competition top of search. You're seeing aggregator money come in. You're seeing a bunch of retail brands who saw their store foot traffic close down and they're like, oh, let's put those budgets on Amazon. So I think that's been really interesting trying to navigate over the last few years, just more general adoption. And then Amazon's realized how much money they're making from Amazon ads, and they've decided to invest a lot of resources. So put simply, I mean, we've seen changes to every single ad type. We've seen changes to targeting. We can break out all those small things, but I think those two things put together have made it one of the most complex aspects of managing your Amazon business.
No, absolutely. You mentioned external advertising. So that has to do with, I believe, Amazon attribution. Is that right?
Yeah, there's so much going on in that area. I mean, one, Amazon has, brand referral bonus. They want people to drive external traffic to the platform. So I think layering in attribution is just giving us more data for tracking. So all of the people who are running Amazon ads, Instagram ads, Google Shopping ads, and then they're sitting here wondering what's performing best. We now have the opportunity to potentially figure out what is performing best so we can use our budgets a little bit more efficiently.
So before attribution really became, rather mainstay, or it's still kind of new, and before they offered this brand referral bonus, had you seen a lot of your clients spending a lot of money through you externally, or mostly on Amazon?
Mostly on Amazon, but as everyone who's really close to the industry knows, the top ranking methodologies in the past have been through driving some form of external traffic. And that was a huge change as well, as Amazon came out with that terms of service change that said, hey, ranking manipulation is not cool. So I think that was another huge factor as well, is if you can't run any of these strategies, what is the most white hat thing you can do to drive high volume to your top keywords? pay for it through Amazon ads.
Absolutely. So, let's face like in Amazon ranking world, there's all kinds of things people were doing because it's so lucrative to get organic ranking. And they were doing that primarily before, maybe internally, trying to get, people to search, do rebates, things like that. But now Amazon comes out and says, hey, you know what? We want external traffic. We're going to reward you for external traffic. But I'm pretty sure external traffic's always been rewarded. People just didn't talk about it as much. What do you think?
I agree completely. And it comes down to a really simple formula. I say simple, Amazon's probably not that simple, but at the end of the day, they want you driving traffic to their platform and they want customers searching for the most appropriate keywords. They just don't want it to be seen as, hey, let's drive 300 people within a 3-hour period with a very heavily discounted product, because that's manipulation. So I think that's spot on. Like, they still want you to do that even with the TOS changes. They just want you to do it in a manner that isn't manipulating.
Now, are you seeing, so one of the things that we saw this year, maybe you can confirm this, was in addition to shipping going up for everyone, that's kind of been crazy because all the log jams everywhere in the whole logistics world, advertising seemed to go up a lot more this year, internal advertising as well. Is that what you've seen for your clients?
100%, pretty much across the board, almost all ad types we're seeing increases. I think any platform that has limited advertising inventory is going to run into that issue of becoming a little bit more pay to play. But I also think Amazon's oversaturated the top of search. So the first thing anyone sees when they type in a keyword isn't the top 4 organically ranked products, it's ads, which makes that placement incredibly, incredibly valuable. So, I mean, in the supplement space, we've seen people bidding upwards of $40 on a click and paying for it for a very long period of time because they see it as an impression play. It's like throwing up a billboard or paying for end cap in stores.
Wow, that's crazy. I'm assuming their goal would be to get recurring sales with those customers, hopefully.
Yeah, exactly. The budgets going behind it are just crazy. I mean, if you type in Coke or Pepsi, you usually see one of their ads as well. And it's like, that's not a cheap placement.
So this internal advertising, everyone's seeing it. The costs are going up for that. Then in comes Amazon saying, we want external traffic. Let's drive more Prime members, new people to our platform. Are you seeing that external traffic is now finally an open place to get maybe a little cheaper traffic?
Depending on the category, yes. I do think that it's a little bit trickier to navigate because the purchase intent on Amazon's so strong. Like, if anyone types in purple pin on Amazon, they're not going to watch a video or to look at all the different types. They're looking to purchase a purple pin. So when we look at external traffic, we kind of have to make sure that our conversion rate and the cost for that acquisition balances out. But I do think in a lot of those competitive categories, that's what we're going to have to start looking at, is if you can't pay to play top of search because this category is so expensive on Amazon, let's look at where we can move that budget externally. And even though we may convert a little bit lower, it's still a lot cheaper.
Okay, awesome. I mean, and so we talked about external traffic, probably the biggest play of this year. It's kind of fresh in our minds. Was there anything else that you saw this past year or so that really stuck out as something new and major that Amazon announced or gave to us?
Yeah, quite a few things. One, I think due to the competition and how expensive everything's getting, Amazon's realizing, oh, people aren't just going to pay for their ads if they're not getting a return. So Amazon's releasing a lot more insights that help us paint the picture of why we need to run, Amazon advertising. They've released brand metrics pretty recently, which is a really cool tool in the advertising console that allows you to see your total blended conversion rate and then compares it to category average and category top. So those are small resources that help us justify spending more money on ads. For converting well, spend more. If not, don't. And then they're also releasing a lot with impression share reporting and audience insights on DSP. And I think all of this is just data to help us justify spending more money. But knowing anyone who's familiar with Amazon has never, ever gotten a ton of great data. This is a really cool thing that's going to help us in the long run.
That's awesome. I agree. Okay, so I know you have some contacts you work with at Amazon. I'm sure you deal with some pretty big accounts. Anything you see on the horizon over the next year or two that will be changing on Amazon?
Yeah, I think quite a few things that Amazon's really trying to push. One, They're really pushing a brand focus and an audience focus. They started as the anything, everything store. So they just wanted a ton of products on the platform. And now they're realizing, oh, my customers don't need 40 different styles of pins. They need the top 10 best pin that fits their style. So Amazon's really pushing creatives. So as we've seen, sponsor brand, sponsor display, you can now upload a lifestyle image. We're also pushing things like Amazon Post and social because Amazon's allowing your brand to get followers, and then you can email those followers, which is huge because, as we've known, that's always been an issue with Amazon as well. If I had to paint like a really broad picture, it'd be focus on your creatives, focus on your brand, and really work closely to make sure you're utilizing all of those assets, because that's where Amazon's putting a focus on. So they're probably going to give preferential treatment to whoever is doing that.
Okay, and you mentioned Amazon Post. It's something that, again, been around for a little bit, but we haven't seen a lot of people using it yet. Have you guys been testing that out?
Here's my cat that I mentioned would probably join. She will sit on my lap and chill almost the whole rest of the podcast. Right. So, but yeah, Amazon posts are actually really, really cool feature. One, because Amazon's pushing more placements. So they're showing up on your product detail page, allowing you to cross-sell products. They show up on your competitor's product detail page, and it's free. So even though it's limited right now, it's a great way to get a ton of additional impressions. And something that is kind of low key is when you run a post, there's a little button on the top right-hand corner. It says follow. And that follow button allows your customers to actually follow your store and get any updates that you have on social. But on the vendor side, those followers are someone you can email. So you can release new products to that follower list. You can cross-sell your products. You can literally send this templated email that says, hey, I know you love this protein. Here is pre-workout to go with it. So I think that's a very long-term benefit, and they're attempting to roll it out into Seller Central.
That is crazy. So this is something that for everyone listening here that you've never been able to do before. Send an approved marketing email to your customers who have followed you on Amazon. Is that right?
Yeah. And the key is follow, which Amazon doesn't do a good job of explaining. And it's like, how do you get followers? But it's awesome.
Well, that is really cool. I love hearing about that. Okay, so I got two different scenarios I want to kind of ask you. The first one will be for new sellers. So we have a lot of people listening right now that are either just getting going on Amazon or thinking about it right now. Anything you would recommend that they should focus on this year? Let's say that they're going to get a product up sometime in Q1. What are the main things that they should focus on from an advertising perspective?
From an advertising perspective, I would say starting small. So when things are super cheap, you could bid on everything, cast a wide net, and probably still get a decent return. Now that things are a lot more expensive, you want to be very, very granular. And that's the beauty of Amazon, is they allow you to have these really small targeting types and, start small. So that's probably one of the first things I would say is, $5 budgets, low bids, get really, really comfortable. You can always work your way up and scale in the long run once you start collecting data. So that's probably the first thing I would recommend.
And that would be with sponsored products ads, is that right?
Yeah, typically, if you have brand registry, sponsored brands can go really well, but typically when you're starting out, you don't. So you're limited to sponsored products. Secondly, I would say that's what's amazing about things that you do is find the coaches and the people you really resonate with from a strategy perspective and keep an eye on everything that they're doing, because Amazon is changing so quickly. If you pull up a YouTube video right now and did a walkthrough on sponsored products, there's a 90% chance that a lot of it's outdated. You could piece it together, but the UI's change. There's so many different complex strategies out there that could be very, very overwhelming.
I agree. You'd also mentioned brand registry. So at what point do you think someone who's serious about this business should pursue brand registry?
As soon as possible is what I would recommend. It does open up a lot of benefits. On the advertising side, there's sponsored brands, sponsored display, and that's like an additional 30% of advertising inventory. So it can be really, really powerful. But also it's just something you need to have. Like in the long term, it's what Amazon's looking for, and it takes us some time to get that approval. So start in the beginning. And if you don't need it or don't use those ad types for a while, it's no harm.
Awesome. No, great advice. Okay, so let's move from the beginning seller to the, let's say, existing, or not, maybe not expert sellers, but existing sellers. They're doing somewhere about, $20,000 to $200,000 a month in sales. Pretty big range. They know what they're doing, but they really want to get their business to the next level. Same advice or anything different for them?
A little bit different. I think that a cool thing with Amazon is how much your mentality changes as you grow, and how much is just changing your expectations with your Amazon business. So knowing what you're wanting to accomplish, if you're wanting to grow your brand and really play the long-term game, then understand that and change your goals to align with it. So on Amazon, it's all about driving high volume. And now it is so much more expensive that we're seeing things change from, hey, it used to be less than 10% TACOS was really healthy, and you could run at a 10 to 15% ACOS and do really, really well. Nowadays, that's not a realistic expectation. And if you're just chasing a lower ACOS, you're probably not doing what's in the best long-term interest for your brand. So getting really comfortable with what your personal goals are, and then adjusting your advertising strategy for that, whether it be ranking a product, whether it be, selling through or needing more cash flow to invest in inventory, all of those should be affecting your Amazon advertising strategy. So it's kind of my broader tip for those range of sellers.
Okay, no, that's great advice. And I'm going to throw you off. We're going to go to a new question that just kind of hit me. You mentioned this whole Amazon's focused on the brand. They're really trying to give us all the tools we need to grow brands. I also see periodically from Amazon their own, webinar series about, here's how you get started on Amazon advertising. One of the ones I saw was using their advertising and focusing on the customer journey, whether there's the different phases of awareness, they're searching. Are there strategies that Amazon sellers can use to really hit those different phases of an Amazon journey? Because I got to be honest, as a seller, I'm always focused on the conversion way too much.
Yeah.
But how do you really focus on those different levels of awareness and so forth during the journey?
Yeah. So I think the simplest way I recommend is just expanding your keyword research. Everyone knows to bid on their top 5 or so keywords that relate directly to their product. And that's where you typically see a lot of saturation with competition, because it's simple to think of, hey, I want to sell a black coffee cup. I need to bid on black coffee cup. But where people, I think, have a lot of opportunity to expand is broader keywords of, let's target coffee cup, the color's slightly different. Let's target kitchen supplies, kitchen appliances, gifts for mom, things like that. Now, again, your conversion rate is going to be a lot poorer, but as long as you're not bidding too high, you can still be very, very profitable on those types. So that's kind of the easiest bottom of the funnel way to expand. And then you move into category targeting, which is a really good way as well. And then DSP and sponsored display are really helping us move up the funnel, because they're allowing us a little bit broader in terms of category targeting.
And so the DSP, is that where you're allowed to do a lot of retargeting or sponsored display?
Yep. So sponsored display and DSP both allow you retargeting. Sponsored display is the one that's within Ad Console that most people have access to. What it allows you to do is, one, retarget everyone who purchased your product, which is a really good for consumable or replenishable. So if you're selling trash bags and someone bought your products 30 days ago, they're probably close to being done. Let's serve them another ad. Or if someone buys, your Advil 45 days ago, you want to keep serving them. So that retargeting is a really strong way to keep people loyal to your brand.
Gotcha. And then they have some pretty robust, I've kind of gotten overwhelmed by it at times, at all the different ways you can target different people.
It is insane. So in the old days, it was keyword targeting, and then we got product targeting, and then we got, like product display ads and category targeting. And now, we have audience, lifestyle, in-market segments. I could literally choose an audience and say, hey, I have this black cat coffee mug. I want to serve an ad to everyone between the ages of 18 and 35 and who also own a coffee mug. Like, that's the kind of targeting you can do, or who love cats. Like, all of these options are things you can do. It can get really overwhelming, and they are much more top of the funnel. So when I'm explaining this ad type, I'm like, hey, don't use your expectations from sponsored products where you're waiting on someone to type in your keyword and then serving them an ad. sponsored display, you're going out and getting and finding your customers rather than waiting on them. So the results are a little different.
Okay, awesome. Destaney, thank you so much. This has been enlightening. I always love hearing what you have to say. Pay attention to your posts you put out there on Facebook. That's where you share a lot of great free information. I've learned a lot from you. If people want to get in touch with you to talk more about advertising, how can they do that?
Yeah, so Facebook, LinkedIn, both great places. If you have any questions about ads, I typically try to respond and help. And if you're interested in working with us, betterams.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Destaney. Again, can't wait to see what you guys have in store for 2022. I want to thank everyone for joining us today on this episode of Branded by Amazing. Remember, I'm Mike McClary. Matt Clark will be back next episode with us here. If you have any questions for us that you want us to answer, just go to Amazing.com/branded, ask them there, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. But again, thank you, and we'll see you on the next episode.